Episode 8. When Snape said nothing, Narcissa seemed to lose what little self-restraint she still possessed. Standing up, she staggered to Snape and seized the front of his robes, her face close to his, her tears falling onto his chest. She gasped, "You could do it! You could do it instead of Draco Severus! You would succeed! Of course you would! And he would reward you beyond all of us!" Snape caught hold of her wrists and removed her clutching hands. Looking down into her tear-stained face, he said slowly, "He intends me to do it in the end, I think. But he is determined that Draco should try first. You see, in the unlikely event that Draco succeeds, I shall be able to remain at Hogwarts a little longer, fulfilling my useful role as a spy."
"In other words, it doesn't matter to him if Draco is killed?"
"The Dark Lord is very angry," repeated Snape quietly. "He failed to hear the prophecy. You know as well as I do, Narcissa, that he does not forgive easily." She crumpled, falling at his feet, sobbing and moaning on the floor.
"My only son! My only son!"
"You should be proud," said Bellatrix ruthlessly. "If I had sons, I would be glad to give them up to the service of the Dark Lord."
Narcissa gave a little scream of despair and clutched at her long blonde hair. Snape stooped, seized her by the arms, lifted her up, and steered her back onto the sofa. He then poured her more wine and forced the glass into her hands. "Narcissa, that's enough. Drink this. Listen to me." She quieted a little. Slopping wine down herself, she took a shaky sip. "It might be possible for me to help Draco." She sat up, her face paper white, her eyes huge.
"Severus, oh, Severus, you would help him. Would you look after him? See he comes to no harm?"
"I can try." She flung away her glass. It skidded across the table as she slid off the sofa into a kneeling position at Snape's feet, seized his hand in both of hers, and pressed her lips to it.
"If you are there to protect him, Severus, will you swear it? Will you make the unbreakable vow?"
The unbreakable vow. Snape's expression was blank, unreadable. Bellatrix, however, let out a cackle of triumphant laughter.
"Ha ha ha! Aren't you listening, Narcissa? Oh, he'll try, I'm sure. The usual empty words, the usual slithering out of action. Oh, on the Dark Lord's orders, of course."
Snape did not look at Bellatrix. His black eyes were fixed upon Narcissa's tear-filled blue ones as she continued to clutch his hand. "Certainly, Narcissa, I shall make the unbreakable vow," he said quietly. "Perhaps your sister will consent to be our bonder." Bellatrix's mouth fell open. Snape lowered himself so that he was kneeling opposite Narcissa. Beneath Bellatrix's astonished gaze, they grasped right hands. "You will need your wand, Bellatrix," said Snape coldly. She drew it, still looking astonished. "And you will need to move a little closer," he said. She stepped forward so that she stood over them and placed the tip of her wand on their linked hands. Narcissa spoke.
"Will you, Severus, watch over my son Draco as he attempts to fulfill the Dark Lord's wishes?"
"I will," said Snape. A thin tongue of brilliant blue flame issued from the wand and wound its way round their hands like a red-hot wire.
And will you, to the best of your ability, protect him from harm?
I will, said Snape. A second tongue of flame shot from the wand and interlinked with the first, making a fine, glowing chain.
And should it prove necessary, if it seems Draco will fail,
whispered Narcissa. Snape's hand twitched within hers, but he did not draw away.
Will you carry out the deed that the Dark Lord has ordered Draco to perform?
There was a moment's silence. Bellatrix watched, her wand upon their clasped hands, her eyes wide. I will, said Snape. Bellatrix's astounded face glowed red in the blaze of a third tongue of flame, which shot from the wand, twisted with the others, and bound itself thickly around their clasped hands, like a rope, like a fiery snake. Chapter 3. Will and Won't. Harry Potter was snoring loudly. He had been sitting in a chair beside his bedroom window for the best part of 4 hours, staring out at the darkening street, and he had finally fallen asleep with one side of his face pressed against the cold window pane, his glasses askew, and his mouth wide open. The misty fog his breath had left on the window sparkled in the orange glare of the street lamp outside, and the artificial light drained his face of all color so that he looked ghostly beneath his shock of untidy black hair. The room was strewn with various possessions and a good smattering of rubbish. Owl feathers, apple cores, and sweet wrappers littered the floor. A number of spell books lay higgledy-piggledy among the tangled robes on his bed, and a mess of newspapers sat in a puddle of light on his desk. The headline of one blared, "Harry Potter, the Chosen One!" Rumors continued to fly about the mysterious recent disturbance at the Ministry of Magic, during which he who must not be named was cited once more.
We're not allowed to talk about it. Don't ask me anything,
said one agitated obliviator, who refused to give his name as he left the ministry last night. Nevertheless, highly placed sources within the ministry have confirmed that the disturbance centered on the fabled Hall of Prophecy, though ministry spokeswizards have hitherto refused even to confirm the existence of such a place. A growing number of the wizarding community believe that the Death Eaters, now serving sentences in Azkaban for trespass and attempted theft, were attempting to steal a prophecy. The nature of that prophecy is unknown, although speculation is rife that it concerns Harry Potter, the only person ever known to have survived the killing curse, and who is also known to have been at the ministry on the night in question. Some are going so far as to call Potter the Chosen One, believing that the prophecy named him as the only one who will be able to rid us of he who must not be named. The current whereabouts of the prophecy, if it exists, are unknown, although, continued, page 2, column 5. A second newspaper lay beside the first. This one bore the headline, "Scrimgeour Succeeds Fudge." Most of this front page was taken up with a large black and white picture of a man with a lion-like mane of thick hair and a rather ravaged face. The picture was moving. The man was waving at the ceiling. Rufus Scrimgeour, previously head of the Auror Office in the Department of Magical Law Enforcement, has succeeded Cornelius Fudge as Minister of Magic. The appointment was largely been greeted with enthusiasm by the wizarding community, though rumors of a rift between the new minister and Albus Dumbledore, newly reinstated Chief Warlock of the Wizengamot, surfaced within hours of Scrimgeour taking office. Scrimgeour's representatives admitted that he had met with Dumbledore at once upon taking possession of the top job, but refused to comment on the topics under discussion. Albus Dumbledore is known to... Continued, page 3, Column 2.